Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. Tonight we're going to make salsa, homemade salsa. We're going to add a little special ingredients to it. We're going to put some black beans and corn in it, make black bean and corn salsa. So it's been a while since we posted a video, but the garden is producing a ton of tomatoes right now, more than we can keep up with. As you see, I've got some nice tomatoes here in front of me. We got a whole table full of tomatoes over here. The first thing we do when we got to peel these tomatoes, and we scald them is how we peel them. And what we do is we cut an X in the tomato, and as you see, we go through a bunch of them. We cut X's in them, and then we're going to scald them in hot water, and that makes them real easy to peel. After we peel them, we take them and we're going to put them in a blender and crush them up. As you see, I've already peeled some of the tomatoes here, so those tomatoes are already peeled and are ready for the blender. I'm fixing to scald these, and when I come back, we'll start grinding these tomatoes up to make our base for the salsa. Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. As you see now, we've scalded the tomatoes, we've peeled them. Now we're going to put them in just a regular blender. We're going to put them in a regular blender. Put the top on the blender, and then I use the liquefy because it's cold. We're going to hit it a few times. That's all it takes. Pour it in the pan, and there is the base to the salsa. We'll finish doing all these tomatoes, and when I come back, we'll show you what we add to it to finalize our salsa. That's going to include the black beans and corn. Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. As you see here now, I have peeled some vidalia onions. I've got some bell peppers. We're going to seed the bell peppers. And I also have some jalapeno peppers, which we'll also seed those. We're going to put them in a food processor. As you see, I already have the vidalia onion, some of it cut up in the food processor. Once again, we're going to grind that up. The bell pepper, the jalapenos, put it in the salsa. And when we come back, we'll show you what else goes in the salsa to complete it. Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. We have our salsa along with the bell peppers and the jalapenos and the vidalia onions starting to heat on the stove, and now it's time to add all our seasonings to it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add about a half a cup of table salt. We'll put that in. We're going to add, this is 3 cups, which is about a pint of white vinegar. And keep in mind that I'll post the recipe at the end because, as y'all know, I really don't have a recipe, but I do have a smaller batch that we've created a recipe for. This is just a cup of sugar. It'll add just a little sweetness to the heat. Then, kind of a secret ingredient, tiger sauce. We love this. We like it on smoked oysters. It's a good hot sauce in gumbo and those things. It's funny, it's probably the one thing other than being a lawyer I have in common with Mike Leach. I heard him on, I think it was SEC Network, Paul Feinbaum, say how much he liked tiger sauce. It really adds a nice touch to the salsa. It's kind of a sweet hot sauce. You can get it at your grocery store. I'm going to go ahead and put 3 bottles in this batch. As you see, this is a pretty big batch of salsa, so I'll put 3 bottles of tiger sauce in there. And then the final ingredient, and let me grab it over here. Melissa's filming for me, of course. The last ingredient is garlic. It's minced garlic, a big heaping tablespoon, and you know, you can't have too much garlic in salsa. So I'm going to put about 3 heaping tablespoons of garlic in there. We will get that boiling, and it has to boil 30 minutes before we put it in the jars. Right before we put it in the jars, we'll have to add our black beans and corn. You don't want to add them early because if you do, the black beans, of course, will cook away. So you want to add those at the very last, right before you ladle in the jars. When we come back, we'll be ready to can this stuff, and the salsa will be done. Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. Our salsa now has been boiling at a rapid boil for about 30 minutes. And as I said earlier, what we'll do then is we're going to add some golden and white corn mix. I do some Mexicorn, some shoe peg corn, and then black beans. Once again, I'm just going to basically add all the corn, add all the beans, heat it just for a second. Then I'll ladle into the jars. You see they're already in their hot bath. The water will get boiling, it'll sterilize the jars. Then I'll ladle the salsa in there, turn them over, they'll seal, and it'll be ready to go. Welcome back to Cooking with Coop. As you see, the salsa is now complete. The jars are sterilized. I am now, of course, ladling the salsa into the jars. You always want to leave about a 1/2 inch top at the top of the jars of salsa. Of course, you secure the lid. The jar is really hot, and as I told you earlier, always turn them over. That'll allow them to seal. We'll check them in about an hour to make sure they're sealed. We'll turn them over, and we'll be ready to eat. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. We'll post the salsa recipe along with the show. It's a much smaller batch. Hope y'all enjoy.